week ago, I challenged myself to start writing a massive multiplayer online role-playing game, and that's exactly what we're gonna do in this video. So for those who don't know what I'm doing and what I'm talking about, I'm gonna work up to an hour a day. I'm gonna try to do it every day, but I still have some way to reach that. But in the end, I'm gonna have an online game that I will be able to play with you guys, and yes, that's just a fun project, okay, and a learning process, and I hope you guys will learn as well. In this video, we're gonna start writing the server, so we finally reached the point that we're gonna start writing actual code. Before that, as you can see here, I was like planning the project with all you guys here live. So if you missed the first video, the previous videos where we defined the client, the server application, make sure to subscribe to the channel to figure that out if you want to learn how to create an online game. And now it's time to start writing the code. And guys, I have an idea. I had an idea. Today I was like watching a video about Perfect World. Perfect World is like a node massive multiplayer online game that it was the first online game that I played in my life, like 10 years ago or more than that. And well, it was so fun, and this is something I'm with this guy's video here, the lazy peon, and something that this guy talked about, and I forgot about it in Perfect World, is that you was able to actually have territorial wars, so you can build a guilda and then with a lot of people, and then conquer some territory, and that's amazing. This is something that I'm trying, that I will try to bring to this game, because this is cool. Imagine that like you join your clan and then you do a war to grab a territory, to possess the territory, and then you do what you want. You can build stuff on it, and that may be a great idea. We are evolving this idea, folks, so this is a cool thing. And I really like Perfect World, so I'm gonna try to inspire a lot of stuff in this game. Something that I don't like in this game is that the combat is a little bit slow to my taste, okay? So I know people enjoy this kind of combat, but I think it could be a little bit better, a little bit more hardcore. So I'm gonna try to do that as well. So let me go ahead here and start creating the game, because this is what you guys are here for. I'm using Visual Studio Code, and yes, I'm the person who likes white themes. I don't like dark themes. But I'm gonna go ahead and create a new file called server.py, because in this video, as I said, we're gonna start doing the server side. And I'm gonna create another called client handle.py. Something that annoys me in Visual Studio, and I don't know why. Okay, here you go. Is that I cannot zoom in the code. This is something very bad about it, in my opinion, because I really like to zoom in my code, especially when I'm doing a video. And the way you can do this in Visual Studio is by zooming the entire window, and I don't like that. I just wanted to zoom this. Leave in the comments if you know how to do that, okay? But anyways, let's start coding, and I may edit this video later on. But for now, I'm gonna have to deal with socket and threading, because as I explained it, the server will actually have a bunch of threads to do different stuff, but that was a thing for to a previous video. Okay, so I'm gonna use socket and threading for now. I may use like seize and time, but I'm not gonna import that for now, and I'm gonna create a class called server. Leave in the comments. I haven't decided if I'm gonna edit the video to cut the part that I'm actually writing the code, because that may be a little bit boring to watch. I'm not sure, because I don't know. Leave in the comments what do you prefer, okay? And well, it may be a great idea to actually start some socket right here. I just put known because, well, no. And then I'm gonna have to create a main run method inside my server, because how does server will look like? I'm gonna put an entry point here in my Python code. I like to put entry points in code because I'm a C++ guy and a C guy, and I like to have this. And here I'm gonna actually instantiate the server like that, and I will start the server, something literally just like that. And in this run method, I'm gonna have like a while loop that are gonna basically run the entire game, but it's gonna be listening to inputs from the player. And for example, if the input is kill or kit, it's gonna break the while loop. So this is basically like the hello world of our server. That there's nothing here, not just yet, and you're gonna evolve to that from it. So if I open the terminal here, let me open it real quick. It's in Portuguese, but don't worry, everything else is gonna be in English, just because my operational system is in Portuguese. And I'm gonna do Python server.py. Here you go. And now I have here something that you're gonna listen to inputs. Oops, I have an arrow. Yes, better now. And I'm gonna be able to type a lot of stuff here, but if I type kit, it's gonna end the server, you're gonna shut down the server. Okay, so this is basically more or less what you're gonna do here in this server. So you run the server just like we did here, and then the server gonna be running and doing the stuff that you wanted your server to do. But we will be able to, like, for example, list all the clients connected. We're gonna be able to, like, BAM client 1. You'll be able to do any kind of stuff here, passing inputs to the server during the runtime. And of course, you'll be able to shut down the server. This is basically what you're gonna do here. Okay, it may be a great idea to create a folder, a new folder called server, and I'm gonna move everything else. Don't ask me this again, to the server folder, because you're gonna have a client thing here later on, not in this video. Okay, so here's the server, but we're gonna have to do this thing in a sophisticated way. Okay, it's very important to do this, not in a basic while loop. Okay, but so for that, I think it's great to have like a terminal class. So I'm gonna create a new file, terminal, I'm not sure, terminal UI.py, terminal interface. I'm not sure, okay, I'm just trying some new stuff. So I'm gonna have terminal interface class, and I'm gonna have a run method that will basically listen to inputs from the player. You're gonna have to host like an instance of the server here to do stuff. And my idea for this terminal interface, let me actually instantiate this in the server. So I'm gonna from terminal interface import terminal interface, and just separate this. And here in the server, I'm gonna create a terminal interface like that. Then you're gonna receive the self here. Here we go. And now in the terminal, I will basically run this. Let me think about that real quick. Yeah, maybe a great idea. Self.terminal.run. Okay, so now I can run the terminal every frame here in the process, and it should be a great idea Because what I'm thinking here, let me explain that to you guys so you'll be able to understand here. I'm gonna try to listen to the user inputs, and I'm gonna do some Python hacking here to grab the attributes of this class that are gonna be the input of this thing. I'm gonna explain that. Don't worry. Let me actually cut the video. So I wrote a lot of stuff, and I'm gonna go ahead and explain everything to you. So I'm probably gonna edit this video and put a time lapse. So I wrote this gigantic, almost 100 line of code class here called terminal interface. And why I did that? Well, the behavior of this class is very simple, and I wanted to do that for a while. So my server, I'm gonna keep it as simple as possible. And right now, what I have is basically a variable called terminal, which is my terminal interface. It receives the server itself here, and in the run method, which is basically the main method here that I'm calling to run the game. What you're gonna do is, and yes, I created this running variable here. It's important to have it right here because it's gonna define if my server is running or not. So I have self.running is equal to true when I start the run game, of course. And while this thing is running, it's gonna run the terminal, basically like that. Okay. So while the server is running, please run the terminal. And what does this terminal.run method does? Well, if I go here in my terminal interface, which is basically the class that I wrote in the time lapse, the run, we're gonna listen to input. So it will basically do what we was doing before, but now in a very advanced way and in a little bit of a better way. Why? Because it's gonna separate the input into comments and arguments. In other words, if I wanted, for example, to type something cool in the game, for example, I'm gonna explain that in a second, but basically, you will be able to run a certain comment to the server, and it's gonna execute that command. It can be like, and now the way I did this it's a little bit of a hack, a Python hack, but I basically get the list of all the attributes that this class have. So if I go ahead here in my get attribute list, it's gonna return everything that is inside there. And if you don't know what is Python, for some weird reason, if I click create a class in Python and create, for example, some methods here, it doesn't really even matter. Def b, actually let me put a gigantic class name. Here we go. What I can do here is called gear to figure out what is inside this class. So if I call it dir, it's gonna say then you're gonna have a constructor here. Here's the constructor, and you're gonna have a destructor somewhere here. But it's gonna have everything that is inside this class foo, including the variable, the method that I just created here. So BSA, I don't know what is this, and A here is the other stuff. And in Python, the way you define something as a protected or a private method or variable is to put the underline as a prefix. So 1 underline means protected and 2 underlines means private. Okay, Python actually only have private stuff. It does not have protected, but this is like a convention. Okay, and I'm using that to basically filter to get a list of everything that is not private or protected in Python by just ignoring everything that starts with an underline. And of course ignoring the run method, because we don't want to run the run method, of course. And what I'm doing here is allowing the user, and that's way complicated here, but I'm gonna summarize for you guys. What I'm doing here, what is the run command? Run command, here's the method that we want. What I'm doing is getting the attribute from this terminal class itself, so I'm getting the attribute that the user just typed, and I'm trying to call it. So here I'm calling this, and if it's not something that I can call, meaning that it's not a function, let me put up, it's a variable. I'm gonna allow the user to actually see what is inside this variable. So I have here in the terminal interface a variable called test, and it's equal to 1. And if I type test in the terminal, I will be able to see the what is this variable? I mean, the value of this variable. Okay, so this is like just a very complicated way to basically handle the terminal comments. And why that's useful? It's useful because every time I want to add like a certain functionality to my terminal, everything that I need to do is to go ahead here in the terminal interface and create a new function. For example, I have the help function that it's called help, and it is basically gonna print a list of all the callable variables that I have, not variables, all the methods that I have inside the class, and all the properties that is basically a variable that I have inside this class itself. I have a kit method here that basically we're gonna set the server.running to false, and I also have the queue method that we're gonna call kit, because sometimes it's just annoying to keep typing kit. So how this is gonna look like in practice, I think things are gonna be a little bit more clear when I do it. So I'll go ahead and run this python server.py, and it's running, and if you see here, it's waiting for the user input. And by the way, this is something important to mention, I'm not gonna use as many computer resources as possible. It's running now because of window interrupt being dumb, but let me sort by the application. I'm probably gonna have Visual Studio running and using 0% of my system. Well, I have nothing here using a lot of CPU usage, because this is actually blocked. This code is actually blocked here in the input right now. That's why I have this. So if I type something weird here, for example, let me type YouTube, for instance, I get an error message, but this is basically something that I wrote to appear. If you go ahead here, is no attribute error. If it doesn't fall, it doesn't find the attribute, you're gonna print this error message. But I can call stuff that is actually inside my stuff. Type help for more information. So if I type help, here we go, I'm gonna have a list of everything that is inside the server. So type the command name plus the arguments to run it, and I have a bunch of comments right now, just help, kit, and queue and kit to shut down the server, simple as that, and a variable. And if I call, for example, test, it's going to return that this is a property and the test is equal to 1. And if I put something else here, for example, let me put like self.youtube is equal to subscribe. And let me test the kit, because I'm going to have to kit this. So call kit, and here we go. The server is now shut down. If I run it again and try to access YouTube, now, oops, it's not in. Let me type help. Oh, I forgot to save. Sorry. That's amazing. Forgot to press Ctrl S to save my stuff. So if I type YouTube here, now it's a property and it means subscribe. So this way I can very easily create methods and create variables to put in the terminal, and it's gonna work just fine. Okay, so this is a cool way to organize my code and keep the spaghetti code away from me, like this. The other way, the completely naive way to do this, you'll probably be like, hey, I have an input and I'm gonna do if input is equal to kit, blah blah blah, and then if input equals to kit, another blah blah blah, like help and stuff like that. This is the naive way of doing this same thing that I'm doing, but I'm thinking ahead. I know that this is gonna grow. I know that I'll be able. I will want to be able. I'm sorry, to like list all the user, to kit and user and stuff like that. So I'm thinking ahead and trying to do this right here in this way. Okay, I think it's a little bit better. It's a better option. And by the way, let me just put the end here. It's gonna look cool. Anyways, I'm thinking ahead, and that's why I'm doing this kind of complicated way. The last thing that I'd like to do in this video is in the next video, are you gonna start making this thing like multi-threaded, because we actually need a socket and we actually need to make this socket work and stuff like that. So this running variable, I will make it private and add a lock to it, and I'm gonna put a getter and a setter in Python for that. Let me just copy and paste this. I'd like to separate my functions and using this. I don't know why, but anyways, I'm gonna make this running private. And I'm gonna put a running lock here. That you're gonna be the threading.lock. And why I'm doing that? Oh, because now I can create a setter using the at property decorator in Python, and I'm gonna call it running. That you're gonna return, this running. And why I'm doing it, basically because this is I want this to be thread safe. Okay, so I'm gonna return false by default, but let's test. Let's retrieve the data from my running. And if you never used threading in Python, that may be a little bit confusing, but what I'm doing here is basically because this lock here, the threading.lock, is a mutex, and a mutex, if you guys don't know, is something is basically something say, hey, lock this mutex and let me access some variables here that only one thread can access at all, and once I finish doing whatever I want in my variable, I can unlock this mutex and let other threads do this as well. So this is basically why it's important to add lock when you are thinking about threading. Okay, it's very important to add mutex and stuff like that in Python. And there is another way of doing this. I really don't remember how to do this without using the with, but I think it's something like self.running acquire. So you are acquiring the lock here, and then you do whatever you want, and once you finish, you can like server.running lock.release. Here we go. You can do this kind of stuff. It's basically the same thing as I was doing with the with here, but Python just make this a little bit clear, a little bit more clear and user-friendly with this with. That you can use that with files in Python as well to open and close the everything. Okay, so that's just a better way of doing the same thing. Okay, so this is a getter. Let me put this here so you forgot about it. And let me actually create a setter. So I'm gonna use another decorator called running.setter. That you're gonna define the same method, but this time with an argument that is gonna be a boolean. And again, with the lock, I'm gonna use the same thing. I'm gonna do the self.running equals to this value that the user is gonna pass. Okay, so the usability, the way you set and get this running variable is it's gonna be the same as I was doing here. For example, the kit, I'm just grabbing the server and setting running to false. And the way I can do this with the getter and setter is basically pretty much the same, except that now it's gonna be thread safe. Okay, so that's why I'm doing it this way. Everything is gonna make a lot more sense in the next video. Okay, but now what is important is that I can run the server, I can do whatever I want, and if I press Q to kit the server, it's gonna kit the same way. And if I type something dumb, it's gonna do everything run in the same way. And by the way, if I put like, if I call queue with arguments, it'll gonna reject this. Anyways, so that's basically the idea behind the server. This is basically the first step, only the first step. And yes, I was using Stack Overflow to figure out the doc string, because when you call help, let me explain that now that you guys saw that. When you call help, it will basically put the list of commands and the documentation of that specific command, but that's actually a doc string in Python, because in Python, another thing that is cool is that if you define a function, and if you put a string here with three, I don't know what this is called, like my documentation, pass. If you do like foo underline underline doc underline underline, you can retrieve this as the documentation of your function. This is basically what I'm doing here. Anyways, let me quit this, and I think that's it for this video. This is basically the beginning of a new journey, and we basically have the terminal interface set up today. In the next video, we will probably, it's gonna be a great idea to set up the tick, that is basically like how fast is this thing running, and maybe the connection listening. Okay, so that we're gonna be a job for the next video that hopefully I'm gonna be able to release it tomorrow. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you have any questions or comment, leave it in the description, and I'm gonna try to answer as fast as possible. My name is Guilherme, and I see you in the next video.